Over the years, fighting games have become more polished as well as more accessible with each release. Things like the improved tutorials, replay takeover, and the more controversial modern controls has allowed us to bridge the gap in learning fighting games and allowing a lot more new players to start playing with a purpose. Now, with all these amazing, great changes to the new player experience, there are a few things that I think still plague fighting games that keep a lot of players from being fully invested into the genre. So in today's video, I want to discuss some of the things that fighting games need to change in order to keep people interested and invite more new players. One of the greatest things added to games in general has to be the replay takeover in Tekken 8. This feature basically allows you to take control of your character at any time during a replay and allow you to learn how to deal with certain situations and certain interactions as well. You can see just how powerful this would be, not only to new players, but to veterans alike. But there's one caveat. You can't do it against DLC characters. I shouldn't even really need to explain why locking the ability to learn against a character behind a paywall is an absolutely awful idea. Fighting games alone are already pretty complicated, but now you're basically forcing a new player to shove down $10+ on an already $70 to $90 game. I know there'll be a lot of players who say, just watch YouTube or something of that nature, but it defeats the purpose. Why have such an amazing and powerful tool that is made for new players, but prevent them from using it? Another thing that I think might be a little bit of a hot topic is balance changes and additional content. In my personal opinion, I think a really great but underrated way of keeping games fresh and interesting is to just change up the balance. I've noticed a lot of fighting games tend to shy away from doing this, usually opting to do one big balance change like every year to half a year, something like that. This works to some degree, but it makes the game feel incredibly stale for people who are consistently playing. And fighting the same character over and over and over again gets kind of boring. I don't know the technicalities of everything, so it is take it with a grain of salt, but a lot of FPS games, such as Valorant, have a pretty consistent 2-week balance patch, meaning that the game is constantly evolving, and they give enough time so that the players can adapt and kind of get used to the new patches. That way the game is constantly fresh and there's constantly something different that is keeping people invested. We don't need anything crazy, but waiting 6 months to a year for patches can get insanely exhausting. In terms of content, I believe a lot of the fighting games already have tons, and there's so much more that could be added. The easiest one by far is definitely skins. Adding well-designed, cool, and fairly priced skins is a great way for devs to make some money back, as well as keeping people entertained. It shouldn't be the only content, but it's arguably one of the easiest ways to keep people invested and also make some cash back. Now finally, this one is also fairly an odd spot, but I think it would make a massive change, especially for people who aren't necessarily die-hard fighting players. And that's giving us options to unlock DLC fighters without spending money. Fighting games are expensive. Most of them average around $70 to $90. I'm Canadian, so it's pretty expensive for us, and I'd imagine anywhere else it's even more. So having to buy a $90 game on top of a $60 season pass with microtransactions already in these games just doesn't make sense. And for somebody who hasn't committed time to fighting games, this is going to seem rather daunting and a huge commitment for something they don't even know whether they like. I'm super excited as Riot Games is kind of trying to tackle this issue with their game 2XKO. Having a free-to-play game where people are able to unlock the characters by just simply playing the game and unlocking with XP will be a massive step in the right direction. It won't feel as pay to win to somebody who's never played, since they can also access the character as well. And it gives us more content, more reasons to play outside of just having the base cast that we've already unlocked. Now, I do understand fighting games make a lot of their money from those character passes, the DLC, all this. They have to make money somehow. But I do think there's definitely a way we can look to work around this without having super pricey games on top of super pricey DLC. Now, making a good fighting game is definitely not an easy task. And the goal of this video is not to discredit any of the efforts that developers have made. I'm super passionate about fighting games, and I think it would be amazing if more people could get invested in the genre and try out the game. This video was kind of me just throwing out ideas and things that I've generally heard in common from a lot of casual, non-fighting game players on why they don't play fighting games. Hopefully this can be something where we can all have this kind of discussion and see what steps we need to take forward to make the games a lot more accessible and a lot more enjoyable for everyone involved. If you have any ideas, feel free to leave some in the comments. I'll definitely be taking a look at them. And if you liked today's video, leave a like. And if you didn't, dislike. Tell me why in the comments as well. That said, hope you guys have a great day. Peace.